Art can be controversial. It can be a reflection of the time in which it was produced. At All Arts, we believe you should be able to view any work of art as it was originally conceived and performed. The following program contains strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
We're taking a stealing in progress from 9101 West Florissant, 9101 West Florissant. Subject may be leaving the business at this time. Stand by for further.
I'm clear. I'm right here.
It's going to be a black male in a white T-shirt. He's running toward Quick Trip. He took a whole box of Swisher cigars.
Black male, white T-shirt.
That's affirmative. She said he just walked out of the store.
I don't see anybody running out here.
She said he was walking. But he headed up toward Quick Trip from 9101.
Does she have any further?
Negative.
There's nobody walking out here with a white T-shirt.
You'll have to contact her for further, then. That's all she could give me.
Louisa Hemphill, black, early 70s, retired school teacher.
That was a real nice service. Real nice. Yeah, that preacher really went at it. He sweated. He really sweated. Yeah, well, I happen to like the old school preaching. The way he talked about that boy's death, Michael Brown, and all that race stuff in Ferguson was a long time coming. And back when I was a young girl, no black policeman, same as now. And they would turn around and tell you to go, run to you and say, get inside if you were standing on your own property. Cops are always doing like that. And these boys, these insane white boys, drunk or sober, pulling up in cars, screaming out, nigger, looking for something to do. In the days, of course, the white people were protected by the sundown law. Now, in case you don't know what that is, it's a law, awful law, that stated if you were Jewish or of color, you couldn't be in certain towns after dark. We grew up seeing those signs. Don't let the sun go down on you, nigger. We saw those signs, read those signs. I saw those signs. There were some of us who did abide by that law, lived by that law. Those signs angered me, and I talked about it, spoke about it, sometimes yelled about it. My family heard me out, but it seemed to me that they were passive racially. It seemed to me that my father was the kind of man that took to being in his place. Oh, there was that kind of racism too. Oh, certainly there was the violence, but there was the quiet, understood racism where everyone knew their place. White folks stayed in West County, then we stayed in Kinloch later first. If we had to go shopping, say, in Normandy, it was understood that we were there for that, only that. White folks knew us by name, we knew them by name. There were smiles, conversation even to be had. Then back to Kinloch. Back before the sun went down. Back to our side of town, their side of town. Back to keeping your place. Well, I would not keep my place. I graduated high school, went to City College in New York. By then it was the 60s. Well, there were no protests or riots in St. Louis, but I went to protests and boycotts in New York. I read about the race riots in Chicago and Indiana. I was on fire. They put me on fire. Sometimes when I came home to visit, I would sense a certain hostility from both white and black people. It's like they hated me. I went to buy some fabric for my mother in Normandy. A white woman, Mrs. Wexton, knew her all my life. One of the people my family made small talk with. By then it was 1969, 1970. So anyway, she says to me, she says, "Oh, Louisa, I haven't seen you in such a long time." I said, "Well, Mrs. Wexton, I've been living in New York and going to City College." And her face fell, and she said, "Another one." And I said, "Ma'am." And she said, "Oh, you colored," oh, I should say black, because all of y'all are black now, have gone up to Chicago and gone east to New York, forgetting where you come from. Maybe it's better that you do leave. That way you won't be causing any trouble here. And I looked at it again and I said, "Ma'am," I said, "You know what, Mrs. Wexton? I don't want to buy anything from your store." And I turned and walked out. Her face dropped. But what stayed with me was the black girl that worked for her. As Mrs. Wexton and I had this exchange, and I was telling about my living in New York, there was a black girl about my age sweeping, putting things away. And she looked at me. She looked at me hard. She looked at me as if saying, "You think you're better than me because you went east and talk different? You think you're better?" And she looked at me saying, without saying, "That's what you get. That's just what you get for not keeping your place." And I hated that black girl and she hated me. I drove back home, told my family what happened, and my father said, "You know, Louisa, you should feel bad for her. I know her family." And I raved and I said, "Dad, that girl's a Tom. She got mad at me because I wasn't cleaning Mrs. Wexton's floor." And then my father said to me, he said, "You know, Louisa, you can know so much, but yet so little." And again I said, "Dad, that girl's a Tom. You defending her makes you a Tom." And before I could finish my sentence, my mother pushed my father out the way. She slapped me palm to the face, backhand to the face, and said, "Don't you ever call your father a Tom. Don't you ever. The reason why you're alive and have the life you have is because he's strong. Now, if you think he's a Tom, you leave this house and don't come back." I tried to hold my tears, but some of them did spill. When I looked in my father's eyes, the hurt that was there. It wasn't until I reached my mid to late 30s and came back to St. Louis I realized and I saw. And I remember something my father said. He said how racism causes self-hate. The word that comes to mind is legacy. The legacy of self-hate. The legacy of keeping your place. The legacy of bowing and grinning. The legacy of seeing yourself as a nigger. Being taught to see yourself as a nigger. My God. How I hate that word. And how I hate when anybody uses it, black or white. That young man, Michael Brown, was made to see himself that way as a nigger, as someone who was non-deserving. He was set up and set himself up to fail, to steal Tiparillos of all things. He graduated high school, was about to enter college in the fall. What made him do that? Who made him do that? I'm angry at him. I'm angry in general.
Rusty Harden, age 75, white, retired policeman.
I lived in Lehman all my life. Got 3 generations of family that go back that way, and all of us can say that because all of us are similar. All of us are white. Now, just because I'm pro-white doesn't mean I'm anti-anybody else. My dad's family came from the north of England, and my mother's family were Swedes. My dad's family settled here. I don't know the whole story, but where they were in the north, there were tons of farmers, and they wanted to come to a place and prosper and not have that much competition. Anyway, that's the story I was told. I love Missouri. Can't see myself living any other place. Oh, I've visited other places, but everything I want, right here. Friends, family, comfort, right here. I was a policeman. I retired 17 years ago from the force there in Ferguson. Yeah, back then it was nice, quiet, mostly white in the 60s and 70s. I worked the force from 1969 to 1999. A few of the officers, they lived in Ferguson, but they worked in Kinloch. Some moved out to Lee May, Melville, further out to Arnold. A few of them lived in Crestwood. That's where Darren Wilson lives. Now, there were no blacks on the force. I didn't see a problem with that. If a person is capable of doing the job, doesn't matter. If a person has respect for the law, does not matter. If the person can carry out the law, that's a good thing. But if a person cannot carry out the law, they got no business in this line of work. Gun is a powerful thing. A person's life is important. Now, the man who doesn't know that can't see past that. That's a dangerous man. A man who can't see past that. I've had to raise my gun a few times. I've sometimes seen the faces of the people I've raised the gun on. Suspect is calling you white trash, honky. Crowd gathers, and they all begin to chant that real loud. And all they see is a white man with a gun. And every racial thing that happened to him, or they think that happened to him, that white man's going to be on the receiving end of all this. This always happens. And they stand there daring you to shoot, knowing the gun is loaded. They're daring you. And the look on that person, those people's faces is, I don't care about dying. And I'm going to take you with me. That is the look on that person, those people's faces. Not caring about living. I mean, they know by killing you or trying to kill you, they can lose their life. It's like they want to die. So you got to use your gun. When someone has nothing to lose, you got to use your gun. You're dealing with life within a few seconds. You're watching how the person reaches for the gun. If they know guns well, how fast are they moving? Can you talk the person down? Can you reason with the person? You're dealing with their anger, fear. You're dealing with your own anger, fear. Then you better use it. You better use your gun. That is not a black person. That is a nigger. Now my son said to me, he said, Dad, even if the person is a bad black person, isn't it the responsibility of the law to use the gun as a last resort? I understand what he was saying, but I got mad. See, this is an oversimplification. Look, I could see where there should have been some blacks on the force, but I still say if a cop is a good man, what difference does the color make? You put your life on the line for people. You're out there. You risk your life. I'm not going to go against a brother. When I say brother, I mean a cop, black or white. Cop is a brother. I wasn't there when Darren Wilson used his gun. And the people that were there, people lie, people tell the truth, combo of both. People looking for publicity. Oh, people can be like that. I search my soul. I search my soul all the time. Sometimes I can get lost in the past. I can drink a little bit too much whiskey. I'm the first one to tell you that. I want the feelings to just float away, wash away. I do feel for Michael Brown and his family. I feel for Darren Wilson. My son may not believe it, but I do feel. I wasn't there when Darren Wilson, my brother, used his gun, felt like he had to use his gun. I wasn't there, my son wasn't there, neither one of us were there. Neither one of us know. We just don't know. Gotta go with the tide. Gotta go with the flow. Just gotta go with the flow.
Hassan Black, age 17.
Yo, I'm a fluid nigga. I do it fluid. The slow, Mississippi slow flow river nigga. Like when I'm rapping to a girl, kicking it to her, and she's hear my flow, pretend she don't like it, pretend to throw me some shade, but in the end my flow wins cause I do it fluid. Yo, my mother and them, and her boyfriend, they was arguing. Shit was ugly, yo. Wanted to get out of Ferguson, find one of my boys, he got a car. We see police, all white police. Police wanna fuck with a nigga for no reason. I'ma tell you, they fuck with you for no reason. So we ride, you feel me? We just riding, not going real fast, little fast. Just riding, you feel me? Police pulled out their guns, made us all get out the car. Gave my boy who was driving $100 fine. My boy said, officer, I wasn't going that fast. Police said, want me to add another $100 fine? And I told my boys, yo man, don't say nothing else. And I'm looking at this Southside living cracker knowing that $100 ain't nothing to him, but it's a lot for us. They had to pull no gun. I mean, we was going a little fast, maybe playing music a little loud, we had to pull no gun. Motherfucker was hungry to shoot a nigga. Just real hungry to shoot a nigga. And I looked at him, with my eyes saying, yeah, go ahead, do it. Do it, motherfucker. He looked back at me, his finger on the trigger, looking like a dog mutt. Hungry dog mutt. And I bet Mike Brown seen that too. Said, police looking like a hungry dog mutt. Right, Mike? We drove over to UC, then we went to Clayton, and then we went to Webster Grove. We went to the St. Louis Repertory Theater. I wanted to see that place where you was writing your play. And I was thinking how, I never seen a play before, and how I want to go, and how maybe I can write a play, have a whole play be a rap flow. Then we drove over to Crestwood. We want to see Crestwood. Want to see where Darren Wilson lives? Like, how does he live? What kind of hood it was? Like, how does he live, man? So was it clean? The street he lived on, was it clean? I want to look him in his eye. I want to see what he looked like up close. Him and me. I want to see if he shoot me. See if I be scared of him. See if I make the move. Front, make the move. Front, like I got a gun. Will he shoot me? Then I'm thinking, why are you thinking like this? The water, man. Water. Like a river, man, coming like a river, Now, I ain't know Mike Brown. I ain't know him. I mean, we had niggas in common, but I ain't know him. Every day, I see that shrine to him. Every day, I see it. And I just want to cruise somewhere. Get out of here, period. And I find myself talking to him all the time, too. But I want to cruise, go somewhere, period. I wonder why I keep doing that. But anytime we cruise, I take in houses, see the nice houses in U City, rich white people in U City, see the rich people in Berkeley, rich niggas in Berkeley, thinking how lucky they is to be rich. And I'm thinking about my history teacher. He's one of the few black people that live in Clayton, and he said to me, Hassan, you're smart and good. And if you apply yourself, you could go far. I wish you could believe that you're smart and good. I want to say to him, Take me home with you. I want you to be my father. And I was thinking how it would be to have him as a father, live in Clayton. And I was thinking about kids who have both parents married, loving them, caring about them. And tonight, man, tonight I feel, I don't care, and I do know right from wrong, I do know, but I don't care, because I'm angry. My anger, man, is fluid. I do not care, and I bet Mike Brown felt that some way. I know you did, man. I just feel like smashing something, fucking it up, fucking somebody up. And there's certain days I don't care. Today is one of them days, and I feel like I am in the days because I know I can't make it. I know I can't. And there is a part of me that wants to go. There is a part of me that wants to go, that wants to stand in front of some redneck, hungry motherfucker who don't care what my name is, who don't give a shit about what my name is, who are aiming to shoot and not miss. I'm 17, man. Sometimes I feel 7, other times I feel 70, and I just want out. Spill my blood. Go ahead, spill my blood. I just want out. Go ahead, do it, man. Do it. Do it fluid.
Connie Ham, white, 35, high school teacher.
I've been following the Michael Brown case, even though I live and work in University City. See, I teach at the university. I rarely get to Ferguson, but this lovely wine bar here. It's so great to have a wine bar here, a place where we can tranquilize ourselves, if only for a little while. A place to get a bit of tension, if only for a little while. I think the case is so tragic, and I, as a white person, definitely can't speak to what it's like for a person of color. In U City, we call it, people talk about it in a very detached way. They swallow their coffee and they say, oh, so sad. Or they reach for a roll, then butter and jelly for the roll, then they say, too bad. I've got a friend named Margaret who got a job teaching at Chicago at DePaul University. Yeah. I think that's great. It's good for her. Margaret and I know each other because there would be meetings with other school districts and we would compare notes about teaching methods and how to include all the kids. Margaret and I had similar ideas about having the classes be racially mixed and the program should include Black history. We've gone to each other's houses for dinner. We've talked on the phone for hours, not just about school, but about our lives. The conversation between us flowed. We were friends talking about each other's lives. We sat here in this bar and drank wine and told each other stuff. I told her things I never told another soul. About my failed marriage, divorce, how I left my husband because he was so abusive, but no one would believe because they said he was so white and upstanding. Somebody actually said that, said, he's white, well-to-do, Connie, I don't believe you. My father was also abusive to my mother. He would just haul off and hit her. Then he would beat me and my sister, but of course, he was a chemical engineer. In other words, I understand violence, abuse. The anger Michael Brown knew all his life from being abused, and Darren Wilson, I read about his background. Their fear, I believe, they were both afraid. What happened to them as kids? And I do believe that both lives are tragic, both. And maybe I sound naive, but race affects everyone. Margaret would look at me hard when I talked about the Michael Brown case. One day I was leaving the bar here in Ferguson and I saw some white protesters. And the next day I saw Margaret. I was going to tell her how I thought both lives were tragic and tell her about the white protesters. And she cut me off. She said, look, Connie, Michael Brown is dead. Darren Wilson is alive. That white bastard gunned down a black child. How is his life tragic? My God, how I hate liberals. At least with an out-and-out bigot, I know where I stand. And I said, look, Michael Brown should not have come after Darren Wilson if that's what happened. And Darren Wilson should have exercised more control in using his gun. But if he had to use it, he did have the right to defend himself. And I do think after seeing footage that he has remorse for what he's done, that he has a hard time living with what he's done. Margaret looked me up and down, walked away. I called, sent cards. None were answered. No emails were answered. I think it is great she got that job in Chicago. She works hard. And that job should be hers and hers alone. I wish I could tell her that. I wish I could tell her that I wish her well, that I'll miss her, miss having mine with her. I really wish I could tell her that. I really wish I could.
Reuben Little, black, late 60s, early 70s, barber.
See, the thing is, you can't go by appearances. Now, I deal with people's appearances all the time working in a barbershop. You know, it's amazing some of the things that people tell you in barbershops, beauty parlors. Something about affairs people had, some about the wife, kids, drugs, liquor problem, all of it. I wonder why that is. When people sit in this chair, they talk this way. I guess they feel that they don't have to cover up for the moment. They looking, feeling, relaxed. Don't feel like they're being judged, because we do judge people on appearances. That's happened to me all my life. And yeah, I'm talking about race as a given. Talk about race. Yeah, we all been talking about the Michael Brown case. People sitting in this chair, been a hot topic, to say the least. You know, I care about black folks being treated fairly. They're not treated fairly. Now, I don't want preferential treatment. I, as a hard-working man, want the same as my white counterpart. That's everybody, right? And yeah, I really would like to know the truth in reference to the Michael Brown case. You know, these two young girls, writers, came down here from Northwest and wanted to write about the case. One was white, one was black, and both of them were very green until it came to their question. Now, one of my regular Sonnies somehow met them and brought them here to me. Now, knowing Sonny, he was, as we used to say back in the day, trying to get next to him because both of them were pretty. When they came in, I said they want to write about the horrors of poverty and racism and how Michael Brown and his family were victims. And the black girl, angry, radical, said, all black people are victims. And I looked at her and knew that she came from smooth life, I call it. Easy flow. They probably didn't go around a whole lot of black people, at least 4 black folks. And the white one, probably the only black people she ever came across were the ones that cleaned her family's home. But then again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong like anybody else. Again, looks, appearances, I could be wrong. But I know I'm not. And the green black girl and the green white girl tried to do that with me, Sonny, and all the guys. It was like they would want us to be victims. They were trying to save us. I mean, they nice girls and all, but come on. So they looked around the shop and said, Mr. Little, we see it's been hard for you to carve out a living in North City. Things have been made hard for you. And I said, well, first off, call me Reuben. Second of all, I'm doing fine. I mean, today may be slow, but I make a living and a good one, ladies. And then the green black one said, I'm so glad that you don't let yourself be looked down upon the way Michael Brown and his family was looked down upon. Then the green and white one said, the Michael Brown shooting and the killing of 9 black men this year, Reuben, symbolizes the mental and emotional strife that you and all blacks have gone through. We're going to write an article, spread it over every news, magazine, program we can. And I kind of looked at Sonny and the guys, right? Then I looked at both these green women and I said, first off, ladies, I'm not a victim. Reference to the shop is mine. Building is mine. I got tenants I rent upstairs to. I attended Tuskegee College. I live here because I choose to. I cut hair because I choose to and I enjoy it. But what bothers me is how people assume black people who come from a poor background are innately intellectually inferior. I wish people would look at the historical ramifications of race and how that affects somebody sociologically and psychologically. Being told that you're not smart enough because of race, that you are intellectually inferior because of race, does a job on your head and your soul. Or I've been called nigger and told that the only thing I'm good for is cutting hair or some such rot, but at least with a bigot, I know where I stand. It's the others that bother me. The white do-gooders that come up to guys in liberalism trying to save me, thinking I can't stand on my own 2 feet. Now here you two come doing the same thing. And I find that highly insulting to me and the men sitting here. But for you, well-intentioned or not, to see us as victims, coming in with your romantic notion of trying to save me, other black men, the men in this shop, for you to use the Michael Brown case in this way means you've taken on the very bigotry you claim to despise. Black men are not children. I'm not a child. I don't need you to speak for me, stand for me. There's strong blood flows in my veins. I want my fair due. Michael Brown should have his fair due. Darren Wilson should have his fair due. Don't judge me or any of us by appearances thinking that you know us so well. See, the both of you know nothing. Nothing at all. And indeed, the both of them were close to tears. And Sonny said, hey, man, we would give the girls a break. I said, nah, man, I'm giving them the truth. We don't need to be infantilized, man. They got up, mumbled, thank you, and left. And all the guys, except for Sonny, said I was right. See, it ain't about appearances, man. See, Michael Brown, thug, thief, whatever you want to call him, innocent, it's about fairness. It's about being fair. Not about appearances. Not about appearances at all.
Doug Ray Smith, white, late 30s, early 40s, landowner and electrician.
I don't come from much, but I made something of myself. I live here in America, greatest country in the world. I don't care what anybody says. If you, like the song says, straighten up, fly right, you'll do fine. Just fine. Michael Brown. I mean, if America is so bad, how come so many people want to come here? If America is so racist and unjust, how come there's so many immigrants? Like I said, I come from nothing. I do not come from privilege. Contrary to popular belief, not all white people come from privilege. By that, what I mean is, no one gave me anything, and the people I was born to were basically white trash. Now, I know that may sound insensitive to some people, but it's the truth. I was born and raised in rough part of Charlotte, West Virginia. That whole hillbilly moonshine thing was there, still there. Girls getting pregnant real early, people getting drunk, fighting. Got heroin, now crystal meth come in. I hated living like that. I hated it. And my family hated me for not being like them. I love books, still love books. My favorite book is Hemingway's Movable Feast. I would not drop out of school to sell shine or dope. Rarely dated, of course, got called queer, but if anybody got in my face, it was war. Total war. My father was a brutal man, brutal. He was a drunk. Both he and my mother were drunks, could never hold down a job. He beat me, my mother, and siblings. But one day I rose up. I just rose up. He was drunk again this one night. We always knew he was drunk because we listened for his walk. If we heard him bumping stuff in the yard or on the porch, we knew he was drunk. Well, this one night I was sitting at the supper table reading as usual. I was reading F. Scott Fitzgerald, Tenders of Night. And he came and snatched a book at my hand. Gonna burn this book, boy. And he's laughing, staggering, laughing. And I was trying to reach for the book, and he's a big man, 6'4" he was. And even though I was 17 and 5'10", I couldn't reach him. He kept shoving me back, laughing. Gonna burn this book, queer bastard, gonna burn it. And he goes over to the stove, turns on one of the burners, puts the book over it, the book goes on fire. I take a chair and I slam it over his head. I just kept hitting. And my mother and siblings were saying, "No, Doug, Ray, stop, no!" I just kept hitting him. There was a grace in the way I was hitting. Something clean, kind of like a purification. But he passed out from the beating and the booze. I left that night, never went back, hopped this bus, went to Jackson, Tennessee, lived in a shelter for a while, got a job with a plumber, moved out the shelter, got a place in Henderson to live, got my GED, went to the University of Tennessee, studied business, got my diploma. I did all this coming from nothing. No one gave me anything. I did it all myself. Bought the first house in Henderson, which is still owned. 2010, I moved to St. Louis because I wanted to get more real estate for cheap, and also I was ready for a change. I live in Tower Grove South. Met a great woman, married her. We got 2 great kids. First, Tower Grove South was mostly black, but now more white. A lot of gays. Businesses are popping up all over the place. More housing. See, a lot of people took buyouts because they didn't own their own home. I own my own home. Also got 2 houses in Ferguson. One on Fargo Drive, another one on West Florissant. Black part of town. I rent the blacks. They pay me on time. They know to pay me on time. I see a lot of black guys getting high, hair all wild, uncombed, pants sagging over their butts. See, my nigga this, my nigga that. They get mad when the white man calls them that, but yet they call each other that. And the rap music is filled with it. Hypocrites. See, this will change. You have to be a visionary of sorts. Real estate is like that. These people will disappear and be replaced by other people, white people. I go to Ferguson all the time to check on my houses. They know not to mess with my house. They know I got friends on the force, and they also know I don't come alone. Oh yeah, I come packing. And I will shoot to kill. It is your right to kill if someone attacks you, and these black bastards will do it. Michael Brown? See, no one is talking about how the way Darren Wilson had to defend himself, but Darren's white, therefore it's all his fault. They're talking about how Darren Wilson shot him in the back, but there is no evidence of him being shot in the back. They're afraid about how these black leaders, like that ape, Al Sharpton, will come down here and say, Ferguson can be great. And I think when all this is out of the way with time, it will be. There's a great Italian restaurant there, great wine bar there, great soul food place owned by blacks. Black people own this place. Work hard, prosper, which means the rest of them can. They don't go around screaming, white man this, white man that. Me and my oldest son, Jesse, were in a soul food place, and I was paying a check. And I heard Jesse scream, "Stop! Go outside." There was a bunch of kids, a little older than Jesse, about 7. There was one about Jesse's age, all black. They made the young one hit Jesse. And they said, "This is for what Darren Wilson did to Michael Brown." And then another one said, "Yeah, hit him again for what Darren Wilson did to Mike. Names they called each other, Mike. And Jesse ran over me and he threw his arms around my waist. And they stood there laughing and pointing. Those little black bastards stood there pointing and laughing. And I pushed Jesse away from me and I said, Jesse, you go over there, you hit that nigger back and you keep punching. You keep punching on and on. And he said, no, Daddy, please. Jesse, go over there and hit that nigger back now. And I said it loud enough for everyone to hear me. I don't give a damn who heard me. And Jesse said, nigger, what's that? I don't even know what that is. And I said, damn. Those evil, dark people, go over there and hit him back now. And his little body was shaking. Jesse, you will not act like some queer. You will go over there and hit that nigger back now. And if you don't, I'm going to whip you in front of all these people. I mean, I will beat you in front of all these people. He let out a scream. Scream he let out was terrifying. He charged at them. His little body shook with anger, determination. He was 5, but in that moment he was 35. And he hit the little ones, some of the big ones too. And they were afraid. The old black bastards were afraid. Now there's a crowd. And I stood there, holding my bag that held my gun. You know, as I watched the fight, I thought about the fight that I had with my father and how it would purify me and the entire world. Then I thought of that movie, Schindler's List. You know when Eamon Goff goes down the line shooting these Jews for stealing his chicken? He just goes down his line shooting these kites. And as those niggers in Ferguson stared me down, rather tried to stare me down because I looked right back at him, this image came to me. The image that came to me was me, Eamon Goff, Darren Wilson, line them all up. All those black bastards up on Florissant. We get our guns, rifles actually. Look through the rifles, get the angles right, and shoot, and keep shooting till all their bodies fall. And after all their blood has been spilled, there'll be a great storm to wash it all away, to make it clean, like Ferguson must have been once. Clean, white, pure, like it must have been once and will be again. Clean, pure, white.
Paul Black, age 17, high school student.
I'm not going to give in to fear. I'm just not going to give in to it. I do get afraid because these cops around here, they mess with you for no reason. I live in the Canfield apartments, but I stay to myself mostly. When I go somewhere, I go to like U-City, St. Louis to visit friends. And some of my friends are white, and they are my friends just like the black ones are. About 1 more year, I'm going to go to Berkeley, California to study art history. See, I can't paint, so I figure I'll study how the way it's done. See, I like how things came to be. I watch my friends in school, how they paint, the way their wrists move. It's like liquid. It's like the way their wrists move, their movements are like the paint itself. Like their arms, their wrists, it's like liquid. My paint is pathetic, so I'll study the history, which I love doing. I love knowing how things came to be. I'm not big into basketball. I can play ball, but I just don't care for it. A lot of us are college bound. Not all of us are into getting high and stuff like that. Not all black dudes are like that. There are good people, bad people. Not all of us are like that. It's common sense. And I can talk to my friends about it, both black and white. I didn't know Michael Brown, or Mike as people call him. I see him around, we say, hey, that's it. So like I said, I live in the Canfield apartments like Michael Brown did. You know, when you look at low-income housing like Canfield or housing projects, it looks like a prison. And it feels just like one too. There's something, I don't know, defeated. It feels defeated. And when I come home from school or come from visiting friends, I hate going back there. I just hate it. There are good people that live there. Hard-working people who don't have money, working poor. There are good, hard-working black people, like my parents, who want the best for me. They do the best they can. I love them. And they know I want to leave. They encourage me to do so. But there were and are some people that start trouble. But the police don't want to see the difference between the two. And I know that from personal experience. Friend's dad gave me a ride home from school, and I'm carrying these books, these art books. Elizabeth Catlett, Leonardo da Vinci, Romare Bearden. Cop comes up to me. White cop. And I was so scared. I was so scared I thought I was going to pee myself. And he came up to me chewing gum, smiling, laughing almost. And he said, "Where'd you get them books from, boy?" And I said, "School. I got the books from school." And he said, "Well, how do I know you didn't steal them books?" I said, "Sir, I'm not a thief, but if I were, do you really think I would risk my life and or jail about a book about Leonardo da Vinci?" And he stood there and he fidgeted, and I could tell he felt stupid, real stupid. And we stood there staring at each other, and I was so scared I didn't know what he was going to do. And he drove off. Some dudes were hanging around, they saw what happened. They said, "Yo, Paul, you told that cracker cop off real good, you and all like that." And that made me cool with some people. They even wanted to hang with me, but I keep my distance. Every day I see that shrine they got to Michael Brown. Every day I see it and I think, that could have been me. That could have been my blood flowing down this street. That could have been me. I got one more year to get out, just one more year. Please, God, let me get out. Please, God, don't let that happen to me.
Edna Lewis, black, late 50s, early 60s, minister.
I've always believed in God. I've always wanted to be a minister and serve God. I think He, God, is wonderful. I think she, God, is stupendous. My thinking about God this way has gotten me into trouble. I knew it had to be more than the old man with a beard in the sky, or the man with blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. He, God, is everyone. She, God, is everyone. Black, white, yellow, red, brown. Love is everyone. Now, I questioned all this as a child. I knew it had to be more than the Old Testament. And how come if God called upon women, all the ministers were men? How come when a woman had her monthly, it was considered a curse? How can a woman's flow, the flow of a woman, be evil? If a woman didn't flow, there'd be no life. Now, I would ask these questions to my parents. They had a fit. My mother said to me, "Edna, you need to leave things as they are," but I know she felt the same way. I was born and raised in Kentucky, but I lived in a few places. I lived in San Francisco, Chicago, New York, finally St. Louis. I live in Tower Grove South. I practice Universalist ministry. God him, God her, Shiva, Kali, Buddha, Muhammad, oh Allah, same thing. Love cannot be limited, you know. At one point I was with a woman. My parents had a fit and I said, God brought this incredible person to me who happens to be a woman. She too believes in God. And before I could finish my sentence, my mother said to me, "Don't you dare bring the Lord to this. Don't you dare." We didn't talk for 5 years. That was painful. My lover Alice said, don't give up on them. Send cards, call, letters. Calls weren't answered. Letters and cards were sent back. 7 years ago, my dad passed. My mother finally called me, and I asked her, I said, the only reason why you called me is because you were afraid of being alone. And she said, at first, yes, but then I realized that you are a good person and you honor God in your own way. And that made me feel good, real good. Well, 3 years ago, my lover, Alice, and I broke up. I'm now with a man. My mother was ecstatic. But she wasn't at first. My husband, Kevin, is white. And again, I explained to her my concept of love. And she finally came around and she loves Kevin. And she calls him son. And she's been to the church where Kevin and I preach. And she said, I've never seen so many different kinds of people in church before. It's wonderful. Living in Tower Grove South has been great. There were more blacks, but now there's more gays, interracial couples, artists. Rent is going up, gentrification. Poor folks get pushed out, especially blacks. Racial tension is high. The Michael Brown case hurts me, wears on me. I've been to the Canfield Apartments. I've been to the Michael Brown Memorial Spot. I've prayed for Michael Brown. I've prayed for Darren Wilson. There was a protest at Clayton Courthouse. And a lot of people went. There was monumental anger. There was predominantly black crowd in front of predominantly white policemen. In the eyes of the policemen, I saw those who wanted blood and those who wanted revenge. I saw those who were afraid, some young, very young, practically children. And there were people from the National Guard there, and there were people from the media there, and in the crowd I saw those who wanted revenge and those who wanted peace. I saw those who used the event to bring attention to themselves, people selling CDs, people selling books, people telling the truth, people telling lies. Now, Kevin and I did not go to protest. That's not what I want to do. We came with prayer. And we went to random people and asked, did they want to pray? And do you know? Many of them did. And I went up to a National Guardsman and policeman standing side by side. White policeman, National Guardsman. And I said to both of them, gentlemen. And I do mean it when I call you gentle, because you were born gentle. Would you like to pray, not in a mushy way, but in a human way, no matter what race, religion, for yourselves and everyone here? And if not, would you let me pray for you? And the young white policeman, about 23, not much younger than Darren Wilson, said, ma'am, I can't, I'm on duty, I can't. I said, that's all right, honey. I can pray for you. And I went to the black National Guardsman and asked him the same thing, and he said, please do, please, please, please pray for me. And I did. I prayed for both these young men. Some people got mad, but that's how God speaks to me. That's how my God speaks to me. You know, I hate saying this, but I've been questioning my faith, the foundation of my faith. A few months back, I was in Ferguson, I was in the Schnooks, and I heard a voice say, woman's voice say, I can forgive Darren Wilson. I hope he can forgive himself. And I ran from my aisle to the next aisle, and I saw Michael Brown Sr. with his current wife talking to a man I knew to be a protester. The man just stood there with his mouth open. I did too. And Mrs. Brown, she said, I did not give birth to Michael, but I would say the same thing of my natural children. And Michael Brown Sr. said, well, I don't know. I ain't there yet. One minute I'm mad at Mike, the next minute I'm mad at Darren Wilson. I don't know. Now, I almost went over there and said something, but I could see they wanted to go on with their shop. They wanted peace. Now, I've always considered myself to be a God-fearing woman, but that young girl, Mrs. Brown, has got more God in her than I ever had. In church today, I thought, Michael, you were so close. So close to becoming someone. You could have gotten out, Michael. You were so close. You are not a nigger. Why would you put yourself between a white man and a gun? You could have gotten out. You could have gone up to Chicago, gone east to New York. You could have gone past. You could have gotten out. Why didn't you let yourself get past the river? And the other young man, Darren Wilson, I thought, did you really have to shoot him? Did you really? And if so, why so many times? The hatred I had for him, that Darren Wilson, and I thought, God, forgive me, where was God? Why, God, did you allow this to happen? Where were you? I'm also an educator. I come from a family of teachers. My mother, my father, my sister was a math teacher. I'm a retired English teacher. I think of the values we teach our children, the society we've created, family values. What kind of family did Darren Wilson come from? How was he raised? How was he made to feel about himself? Was he also afraid? He's not much younger than Michael. Did he just fire and not think? And now does he? Does he think about it? Does it play over and over in his mind and soul? And if he does not care, what created his hardness? What made him so hard? What is his legacy? And I think of Michael Brown, our legacy, what we were taught, the things we're taught, the things we remember, the things we can't help knowing in our bones. See their faces, frightened, dark boys, men, dark boys, white boys, boys roaming the streets, boys, trying to get somewhere, boys, but don't know how because boys are told, be hard boys, be rough boys, don't cry boys. Black boys, backslide, backbeat, bullwhip, tired of the bullshit. Bebop boys dodging slaps, bullets, planned, random. White boys ravaged by the waspy, stinging lies. And can you smell the blue blood curdling? They're prowling, praying for God of some such man, seeming untouchable, unreachable. Neither boy able to sleep, rest, take care, be heard. Neither boy able to rest. So silence the boy, quiet the boy, kill the boy, punish the man. Man, boy, man, boy. Black, white, gun shoot. Black boy down, white man shoot. Both down. They are both down. Done. Gone. They are both gone. And has the we shall overcome come and gone? Has the wake-up call been answered, deleted? Maybe so. But there are some of us who still wake up, our arms, hands raised in the air, saying words like, more, more, not yet, but soon, soon, very soon.